And here we go again, the Grapple Daily Show. If you want to support the show, the channel, if you want to support Grapple Daily, one way that you can support and help us out is with Digitsu.com. The affiliate link is in the description below, your online source of quality martial arts instructionals. Okay, instructionals from Matt Darcy, Eddie Cummings, Vlad Kulikov, you name it, man. They got instructionals, if you got to work your half guard, you got to work, your back control, you got to work your leg, your leg attacks. They got that stuff for you. Okay, so you can use Grapple Daily 10. That's Grapple Daily 10 for 10% off. And you know what? It really is an investment. It's an investment in your ground game. Okay, especially for those guys out there that live in an area where there's no close gym around, like for MMA, for jiu-jitsu, for judo. Like you're kind of like, like let's say like you live in a farm, or maybe you're like overseas and there's no gym anywhere. Grab a couple of your buddies, pitch in some money, and like get some of these instructionals and like train, get used to it. It's like having like a private, So, I mean, invest in your game. Stop spending money on dumb stuff. Like, think twice. Like, you could put the money towards bettering yourself, bettering your jiu-jitsu, your wrestling, your takedowns. Go to Digitsu.com. Think twice before you spend your money on anything else. Like, maybe you shouldn't buy, that tub of ice cream or that box of donuts from Tim Hortons. Maybe you shouldn't buy another pair of disgusting Yeezys because those shoes suck, or maybe you shouldn't renew your subscription to Pornhub Premium. Spend your money on good stuff, people. Digitsu.com, link in the description. Invest in your ground game. Cool. MMAWarehouse.com affiliate link is in the description below. If you're going to buy your gear, gis, Rashguards, shorts, Spats, defense soap, gloves, mitts, shin pads, or maybe you just want to get some cool shirts, for the next UFC event. Go to MMAWarehouse.com. Link is in the description. It helps us out, and gives us a commission to help support the channel. Tried, tested, and true. Like I always say, I've been using these guys for 10 years. I first started using them in 2008. Okay. UFC 80 BJ Penn versus Joe Stevenson. I think that was 2008, 2009, something around there. But 10 years ago, man. So, I mean, they've been around forever. I mean, if you're gonna buy stuff, go to them. If you're in Canada, $149 or more, you spend free shipping. If you're in the States, $49 or more, free shipping. That's cool, right? You don't got to worry about any of that, the shipping stuff or any of that, okay? And usually if you're going to shop there anyway, you're probably going to be spending that much anyway. So, yeah, go to MMAWarehouse.com, support the channel, use the link in the description below. Next, if you're going to take supplements, if you're into bodybuilding, well, you don't have to be into bodybuilding, but I mean, if you're an athlete, you got to take supplements. I mean, go to myprotein.com. Okay, they got vitamins, BCAAs, fish oils, creatine. They make sure their products are legit. Okay, they make sure that none of their products have any banned substances. Okay, if you're gonna take your supplementation, go to myprotein.com. Affiliate link is in the description below to help support the channel with commission. If you're gonna buy protein, their Impact Whey protein is legit. 20 plus flavors. Okay, they got chocolate brownie, butter pecan, chocolate caramel pretzel, white candy cane, French toast, glazed donut, rocky road. If you take that protein, it's like a dessert. It's like it's like you're cheating, but you're not. And everyone's favorite, flavor, Boston cream pie. Because you all love cream pies one way or another. You just don't want to admit it. But you guys like cream pies. Use VIP35 for 35% off. Link is in the description. Alrighty, and where do we train? We train at Gracie, Humaita, Winnipeg, 181 Stradbrook Avenue, Winnipeg, Manitoba, R3L0J4. GracieWinnipeg.com. The is it the biggest gym in Manitoba? Yes. Is it the nicest gym in Manitoba? Yes. Does it have high instruction and a lot of black belts? Yes. Are you being biased? Sort of. I do train there, but I mean, I'm saying that wholeheartedly with all truthfulness. It is an awesome gym. Come, train with us. Give the gym a chance. I mean, if you're tired of training in sketchy places where, you know, you got people that have like a rainbow mohawk that looks like Takeshi 6ix9ine. He's trying to like rip your arm off during like drilling. Like, man, you don't want none of that. We don't have any of those type of guys in our gym. Okay, you're not gonna have some dude selling you steroids in the change room. You're not gonna have someone trying to touch your butthole while you're showering. You don't have any whack jobs in our gym. It is a family friendly, safe environment at Gracie Humaita, Winnipeg. A very professional gym. Come try us out. If you're in Winnipeg, join this gym. It'll change your life. Everyone's friendly. Okay? The instruction is awesome. Plenty of mat space. Plenty of time slots, which whatever schedule you're working with. Honestly, I think it's the best gym. I think. Gracie Humaita, Winnipeg. Okay, our guest is Arin Adjamian. He is a sports nutritionist, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, trained with the likes of Alberto Crane and Robert Drysdale. He's been competing for a long time and has had some struggles before his jiu-jitsu career with being overweight. And because he was overweight, he became a sports nutritionist. So, I mean, nutrition is such a big deal with fitness, with if you're a competitor, nutrition is paramount to your performance, and he talks about that in this episode. He was actually brought into Frank Mir's last camp for the Fedor Emelianenko fight at Bellator. So he helped Frank with his weight cut and his nutrition. So he's got a wealth of knowledge on this stuff. That's why we brought him in, and it intrigued us, of course, because we like talking about how to make jiu-jitsu your passion, your livelihood, to make it viable, to provide for your family. He still competes and he still runs a business called 3J's Diet, where he helps people lose weight. So we're going to talk to him about that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Arin Adjamian, enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Grapple Daily Show. Here's your host, Jebo.
And welcome to the show, guys. If you can find us on Instagram, give us a follow, Grapple Daily. Also, check out our website, grappledaily.com. There is a directory of Canadian gyms there. If you are on the road anywhere on Highway number 1, catch any of these gyms. They'll be more than happy to bring you in so you can get your training in. Okay? And feel free to catch any of our other episodes. Nothing wrong with checking those out. So with us today is a very special guest. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt trained with the likes of Robert Drysdale, Alberto Crane, Frank Mir, Arin Adjamian. How are you, sir?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're very honored. So, Arin here is he specializes in nutrition. If you ever give him a follow on Instagram to check out his account, uh, the Jits. So that's DA_Jits JITS, and he has a lot of stuff that he does with nutrition. But I think right now you're in camp for Worlds. Is that correct?
That's right. Masters is coming up. It's about 2 weeks away. And camp at Drysdale's officially starts today. So we're getting ready to turn things up a little higher.
So turning it up a notch. How has preparation been going? How far have you been in camp so far?
It's been an interesting preparation for Masters, especially since for the last 12 weeks, been dealing with 2 rib injuries. 12 weeks ago, I dislocated my rib. I tore the cartilage in between. I was out for about 7 weeks. 2 weeks before American Nationals, In judo, I bruised my lower floating ribs, so completely different. And so 10 days out from nationals, right after I sign up, obviously, I hurt myself, and I actually ended up doing nationals with bruised ribs. But I had to take a little time off after that, and then get back into it. So it's full schedule again. 4 hours a day, putting the work in, trying to keep up with the nutrition, and trying to make it happen. And you got to put the grind in. If you don't, you got to have grit. If you don't, you're never going to win anything.
That's true. Totally agreed. So how do you adjust your training if you have like bruised ribs? Like, did you do like a lot of flow rolling? Was it mostly drilling? Like, how were you able to adjust during
When,
camp?
when I had bruised ribs, I actually didn't do any jujitsu at all because I couldn't stack. I did a lot of judo instead, and I did a lot of Olympic lifting. In terms of judo, you could do entrances very lightly and work on combinations and work on your kazushi and your tai sabaki circles without, aggravating the injury. Unfortunately, any type of twisting was impossible. So I did what I could do. It's like if hurt your hand, you pop your elbow, you tuck that hand into your belt, and you keep training. If you don't, then you lose it. So whatever you can do to stay active is very important in terms of being a competitor. And I've competed so much that I have that mindset. I understand that mindset of, hey, if you can be on the mats, be on the mats. The only time you miss it is when you absolutely have to skip it because of the injury.
So for anyone listening here, Professor Arin here is a seasoned competitor. I believe you have like 18 gold medals. Is that correct?
I have 32 gold medals.
Okay. All right.
19 of them,
Okay.
19 of them JJF gold, though.
Okay, so I butchered that. Okay, so 32 medals. Okay, so for those who've never competed before, like, how does one truly prepare for competition if someone was gonna approach their
Everybody,
very first one?
everybody thinks competition's about the camp. And I think that's a mistake because people kind of take it easy, and then 3 weeks out they start to rev up their training for competition. And in terms of being a good competitor, it isn't a phase. There's no off button there. You train hard regardless. You just take it to another level when you're going to compete. And for most people who go and compete, they're not competitors. They're jiu-jitsu guys who want to challenge themselves. If you're competing once or twice a year, here and there, I'm sorry, you're not a competitor. It's great that you're on the mats competing. I don't want to take you away from that. I don't want to discourage that. But if you're a competitor, you're competing in a lot of tournaments. And the reason why you're doing that is because it isn't the guy who's better at jujitsu that wins the matches. It's the guy who's a better competitor. And nothing makes you a better competitor than experience. I'll give you a perfect example. I decided to start taking a competition lifestyle seriously when I was a purple belt back in 2014, I think. And I I decided to do an average of 1 to 2 tournaments a month. So compare that to the guy who signs up for Pan Am's or Worlds or maybe a local tournament and does maybe 2 or 3 tournaments in a year. I was averaging somewhere between 10 and 12 a year, sometimes more. I think my purple belt I did like 14 tournaments in a year. So you have to understand that there's a lot that comes with the psychology of being a competitor. And in order to learn that psychology and be a tactician, you need the experience of competing. And that's just scratching the surface on that subject.
So it's safe to say that, to know the difference whether or not you're a practitioner or a real competitor, you have to have like, there's a lot of self-awareness involved, correct?
Yes, so just your training routine alone in itself will tell you whether or not you can be a competitor.
I see.
If you're doing jujitsu as a weekend warrior, you're training 3 times a week. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how I started. I came and I trained 3 times a week and then 4 times a week and then wanted to get into the lifestyle. And next thing you know, I'm double training every day, breaking myself down because I'm looking at the high end competitors and their schedules. And this is what these guys do. They do Olympic lifts, They do multiple forms of martial arts. In my case, it's judo and jiu-jitsu. In someone else's case, it might be wrestling and jiu-jitsu. But they want to be an overall competent competitor. Some people, they don't do any takedowns. They're guard pullers, and those people have no souls. So
Fair enough. So, for someone that is a competitor, and let's say they compete once, twice, three times a month, um, is there a certain way of training where they can avoid getting run down and avoid getting injured because of all the competition?
yeah, that this becomes extremely important. So this plays a full-on approach to your nutrition, the type of training you're doing, how much you're doing, how you're resting. To break it down in simple terms, one, you got to feed your body what it needs to continue and still consider your weight cut. Two, you can't cut weight so quickly at the end that you have to cut water because we weigh in and compete. Well, I don't. I'm an ultra heavyweight, but I know a lot of my clients do. So they're at weight a couple days before, and they've lost weight very slowly. Okay, and then three is the rest. It's so important to rest. For example, when I am in competition mode or out of competition mode, I still train pretty heavy, and I still take my Saturdays and Sundays off. I give my body about 72 hours to fully recover, and then I go back in Monday and redo the whole thing. And by Thursday, my body's falling apart. It doesn't matter how much I feed it. Doesn't matter what supplements you take. If you're training that hard, where you're putting 4 hours a day into training, guess what? Your body's going to start falling apart. That's natural. Now, if you're young, you don't feel it as much. I remember when I was 28, 29, I didn't feel run down like I feel now at 33. And there isn't a big difference there in age. So it does start creeping up on you. But if you have to make sure you are not injury free, because most competitors are going to have nagging injuries, whether they like it or not, but you're maintaining the quality of your training while putting your body into consideration. And there's a fine line there. Drysdale has this like supernatural power over his students when he tells them like, "Hey, you're not done. You're not done." He'll find that extra strength in you when you feel like you have nothing left and you need to get off the mats, and he'll tell you, he'll be like, "Hey man, come train now. This is the time. This is the time to be a champion. This is the time to push." And he does that a lot. And sometimes I have to tell myself like, "Hey, I can't do this right now. My body's too shot. I have to listen to my body." And that's rare, but it does happen. So in terms of being prepared, make sure your nutrition's on point. That's number one. If you're starving yourself, your body's going to run down a lot quicker than if you're feeding yourself correctly. And make sure you have enough rest. I go Monday through Friday and I take my weekends off because I need that time off.
So for on the weekends, there's absolutely like no lifting, no running, just straight off pretty much.
Straight off. Sometimes I'll go in for open mat if I'm not so beat up, but that's usually in the off season because in season, Monday through Friday, you're talking about, 2 hours of jujitsu plus an hour of judo plus, an hour of Olympic lifting Monday through Friday. So think about how much work you're already putting in. You don't need to put in more work. You need to give your body a break to rinse and repeat the work that you're able to put in, or else it'll just fall apart and you won't be able to. You'll get that tendonitis, your knee will start acting up, your back will start hurting, your mind will be telling your hands and your legs to move in training, and your hands and legs won't respond. And that's why you have to give yourself that break. It goes the same for getting close to competition. Like a lot of people I know, like they train hard all the way up to the day before competition. I'm like, hell no, I would never do that. I take a full 3 days off. If I'm fighting Friday, Tuesday's my last hard day. Wednesday, I might go in and just work entrances for my judo, which is really, really low impact. And then I'm a couch potato until Friday. I want to feel rested. I want to have that itch of I haven't trained in 3 days. I need to grab someone. I need to throw someone. I need to choke someone out.
Yeah, some people get like some people are workhorses. Like they there's that fine line where they kind of say to themselves like maybe I'm just pussing out or something, or maybe I can do more. They're like some people like really go through that whole meathead type thing where they'll train super hard all the way till the day before day before the actual tournament, and I guess from what you're saying, that's a wrong approach, right? Like you have to listen to your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And that doesn't mean you use that as an excuse to slack off. It means literally listen to your body and understand your body. And that takes time. It's not something that happens overnight and you know how far you can push yourself. In the end, you have to realize that we're martial artists. And the philosophy of a martial artist is perfection. It's to defeat the person you were yesterday every day. But isn't there a limit to that? You can only go so far. So what used to be yards moving forward is now feet moving forward, which is now inches moving forward, centimeters, because the better you get, the closer you get to your full potential, the harder it is to break barriers. So at that point, you really do have to listen to yourself and listen, okay, I'm pushing too hard. I'm not going to make it to the tournament if I keep going this bad.
I spoke. I had a guest on my show the other time. He's a youth competitor from AOJ, like the Mendez brothers camp, and he does a lot of. He's a young guy, like 16 years old, and he does a lot of cryotherapy to recover. Do you recommend doing things like that?
Yeah, whatever you can do to help recovery, I recommend you do. I've done cryotherapy a couple times and I think it's great, but not everybody can afford the 40 bucks a session that you'd have to pay, and you don't want to go in every day pretty much because you're beat up every day. So an ice bath works too. And making sure that you're taking care of your injuries and taking it easy on parts of your body, that's very important as well. So yeah, if you have cryotherapy available to you, I'm all for it. Go do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Whatever it takes to keep yourself going without breaking yourself in the process.
So I know a lot of guys want to train like super hard, and they want to. Let's say they have an injury, they don't want to aggravate it even more. Um, it goes down to that decision with regards to training partners. When you prepare for a competition, are you choosy with the people that you train at your gym?
I don't have a choice in the people that I train with. Drysdale does not do your typical, all right, let's do, 6 rounds of 8 minutes, slap, bump, and go. He has a very specific philosophy in training. And that is why I've stayed with him, because it's a philosophy that works very, very well in preparing you for competition. So we rarely just go, he goes, okay, pick a partner and let's slap and go. He usually puts us in groups and we do a lot of situational stuff amongst other things. And my main training partners are Drysdale and a guy named Marcelo Nunez. Look out for him at Masters. He's in the brackets with me. He's Drysdale's protege and one of my instructors with Drysdale, and he's going to destroy everybody. I mean, these guys are so high level. I can't even come close to touching them, even with all my accomplishments in my jiu-jitsu journey. I barely scratched the surface of who Drysdale is, what skill level he's at, and trying to fill his shoe if I ever even possibly could. It's a big shoe to fill. So Drysdale himself is a no nonsense, no politics, get your ass in the gym, put your head down and train type of guy. But the way he trains us, the philosophy he uses is extremely competition oriented.
So very, very competition. So what kind of like so is it a lot of like situational like drilling pretty much? And then he puts you guys into groups where you can really work on those different aspects and that those different situations in case that were to happen in the tournament.
Yeah, so what he does is, I can't remember the last time at one of Drysdale's classes that I've rolled with anybody under 200 pounds. He makes sure I'm rolling with the guy at my or close to my weight. That's the first thing he does. And Drysdale and Marcelo are both, 220-pound guys, 210-pound guys. So I train with them a lot, and I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed to have Drysdale and Marcelo as a training partner because I get to train with the best. It's an hour of me getting my ass handed to me on the regular. These guys are on a different level. And what he does is he makes sure you're with the person in your weight class who can help you the most. And then he does situational training almost exclusively, actually, I'd say.
So it's a lot of that. So does he also pair them up according to rank, or that's not even a factor anymore?
Um, it I'm sure he does pair according to rank, but it's not as much of a factor because he wants black belts going with blue belts. We have a bunch of guys over 200 pounds who are blue belts, purple belts, and brown belts, and I roll with them too. But it's mainly based on weight. And then if obviously you see someone has a weakness where the other person can be his strength and he can learn from him, I'm sure he matches them up together. I'm not an expert on his philosophy of running things, but the way he runs it is genius.
Yeah, that's really cool because you don't have people training with like if you're gonna go to like if you're in a certain division, I think you should be training with people in that division. Um, I'm
And that's the hardest thing for ultra heavyweights. I'm an ultra heavyweight. I walk around at about 250. When I started jujitsu, I was 340 pounds, and I was in a school that, obviously there aren't going to be a lot of guys as heavy as me. I think the first school I was at, I was under Alberto Crane, and I was lucky if I had a training partner that was at 200 pounds. And that was no fault to Professor Alberto or the school. It was a great school. My foundation comes from that school, and I owe a lot to Professor Alberto. But I didn't have someone at my weight to train with, and so I lacked something in my jujitsu because of that. Because I was so used to being able to just toss people around, and then all of a sudden I started going with people my size, and wait, I can't do the things I usually could do. So having this huge group of high caliber guys at Drysdale's that I can roll with regularly has really, really helped me out.
yeah, that's really helpful, especially like the people you're rolling with are extremely high level and they're the exact same size. Let's talk about when you first started because I saw on Instagram there's a before and after there's a before and after picture of you, and then on the left, I guess you were a white belt at the time, and then you look to the right. There's you present day, like a Batista looking fellow, you know.
I get that so much, man. It's funny. I get the whole Batista thing way too often. It's hilarious, man. Yeah, so I started jujitsu at a low point in my life, 2010, 2009-ish. I had just met my now wife, and I was just going through a depressive end at a binge eating disorder, and I weighed about 340 pounds, and it wasn't a good 340 pounds, unfortunately. And I found jujitsu, and I started to research nutrition in a level that would teach me how to handle my own diet because I was really getting tired of it. I was going through the yo-yo dieting. I was making mistakes. I would lose weight, then I would stall, and I was taking things to extreme and making a lot of mistakes that people usually make when they start a regimen. They go to an extreme. Their metabolism slows down, goes in starvation mode. A lot of problems. So I started to do scholarly research. Educated myself on proper nutrition and what it really takes to change your body and change your life and become a healthy person. And I applied nutrition in a way that was healthy to my mind and my body. And I started jujitsu, and I just told myself, hey, I'm going to go in and just train a couple times a week and not worry about my weight and just try to eat clean, and really got into the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. And from there, my business grew out of it as a nutritionist. My jiu-jitsu career grew out of it because I fell in love with it. One of the exercises I hate the most is running, for example. Why? Because you're aimlessly doing the same thing over and over again. You're sweating, it's tiring. When I was on the mats, even as this obese 340-pound guy, I never felt like I was exercising. I was so consumed and enamored with the principles of jujitsu and the revelations that were coming as I was learning tactics and techniques, and that I fell in love with it so bad that I would wake up and go to sleep thinking about it every day. So every time I trained, it wasn't, oh man, I'm tired, I hate this repetitive movement. It was, oh dude, I'm having so much fun here. I'm taking everything I can in. I felt like a kid again, who was trying to soak up all the knowledge you could find. And that really changed my perspective on what my future was going to be.
So when you were in that low point in your life, what came first? Like to attack the problem? Was it nutrition? that you wanted that you were working on first, or was it jujitsu that came first before the nutrition?
I tell you what, man, you would think it would be nutrition and then jujitsu, right? I'd say it was jujitsu first.
Oh,
And when I get clients who come in who are really heavy set, who really need to make a change for the better of their health because it's dangerous, I tell them, I want you to eat whatever the hell you want, but I want you to pick up a hobby. I don't care what it is, boxing, karate, jujitsu, bird watching. I don't care what it is, but you have to stick to this hobby 3 times a week. It has to be physical. Because even with bird watching, you have to walk.
mhm.
And at some point, you have to walk up a hill. At some point, you have to walk down a hill. You have to exercise. So, doing that exercise, you start to get the benefits from the exercise, the endorphins that get released in your head, and you start to feel better about yourself. And if you fall in love with the exercise, then you start to do things around that exercise that spreads in your life. So, one of those things for me with jujitsu was, hey, I want to get better at jujitsu. I can't move well on my back because I'm fat. I know that. How do I fix this? Okay, nutrition. Okay, let me look into what I need to do in my nutrition to become better at jujitsu. That was the mindset I had. So I kept doing it, and I moved forward with a plan that seemed like it was rudimentary, honestly, to me. After I had done all the research I'd done, put a simple, straightforward whole foods plan, ate every 3 hours, ate till I was full, and I was never hungry, and I started to lose the weight. And next thing I'm 290 pounds, 280 pounds, 260, 250. I think I dropped to like 238 before I said, okay, maybe it's time to build some muscle. But I'd say it was jujitsu first because I found a love for jujitsu and that love spread into other things in my life.
I see. Yeah, jujitsu can be very obsessive. Like, a lot of people get, I got the bug. A lot of people I know got the bug. But when you were thinking of doing something active, what was it about jujitsu that really caught your attention? Like, how come you didn't turn to CrossFit, or you didn't turn to powerlifting, or you didn't turn to like striking arts? What was it about jujitsu?
I fell in love with the concept of leverage while you're on the ground. Seeing the principles of jujitsu, how where you grab someone in this place and you push him this way, that they'll fall on their back, or you could choke somebody or break their arm, or just the technique itself. And then the camaraderie. The most important thing I think was the feeling of belonging to a group of people, a tribe. I treat my teammates like they're my best friends. Some people aren't like that. Some people come in, they're like, "Yeah, I'm here to trade, and I'm out, and I'm here for myself." I don't walk that line. I take my lineage seriously. I take the people who have helped me get where I've come to today very seriously, and I cherish them. And I'm always there for a teammate. And further on, I'm always there for a BJJ brother. We're all part of the same community. I don't want to be clicky.
Yeah, that's what's beautiful about jiu-jitsu. Like, you rarely find like a douchebag on the mats. And if you do, they don't last, right? They're not gonna last. So that
No, and I've seen people get kicked out because they weren't acting right, and it's hard to see that because one of the main characters of jujitsu, one of the benefits is humility. You gain that humility over time. You come into that gym and you think you're a badass and you think you're gonna whoop on everybody and you do nothing but survive for the first year as a white belt. All you learn is how to survive. You barely tapping people. And if you don't gain a little bit of humility along the way, then I think you've missed the essence of it.
Yeah, it's very humbling. Like, imagine like getting choked, getting tapped, getting locked, and you're just feeling helpless for an entire year. I think it takes a very special person to stick it out, for a 1 year, 2 years of just, getting demoralized every day, to really stick with the art. And like what you said, like, I mean, if you're not humble after every session, then you really are losing the essence of the entire art, pretty much.
I agree.
hmm So, pretty much, you used nutrition. So you improved your nutrition to better your jiu-jitsu. That was pretty much what clicked with everything, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
So, what year was were you like a blue belt at the time, or were you still a white belt when you started
I,
thinking about nutrition like really seriously?
I started thinking about nutrition immediately when I started jiu-jitsu. I said, hey, I want to make the most of this, but I didn't implement anything strict. First I just did jiu-jitsu as a white belt, and for the first 6 months, just going in and being active 3 times a week, I dropped from 340 to like 310. And then in my blue belt was probably my longest belt. I slowly started bringing the scale down to like 300, 290 because I was being a little more careful with my nutrition as I was moving along. I wanted to lose a little more weight. But when I hit my purple belt, that's when the real click happened for me. Because I didn't look bad at 290, but I was still too slow for competition. So I said, okay, when I became a purple belt, I said, I want to take on this competition lifestyle. I want to win gold medals. I want to be a world champ. I want to be a Pan Am champ. How do I do this? So I looked at the high level competitors and the type of schedule they kept, and I mimicked their schedule. I trained twice a day. And then I looked at my diet and I said, okay, some of the best guys in the world are super heavyweights. At the time, that's what it really was. It was a super heavyweight that would be the guy that would do well in the open class, for example, because he was strong and fast. Growing up, when I was a white belt, Big Mac was my hero. Why? Because he was this big, overweight guy who was winning world championships, and I wanted to be like him. But then I realized, wait, I don't want to be like him. I want to be more fit. I want to be in shape. And I looked at guys like Buchecha and Vieira, and these guys are super ultra heavyweights who are the best in the world. I mean, you can't mess with Buchecha, on and off the mats. If you guys watch Worlds and what he did for Leandro Lo, he moved up a couple spots in my book personally. The guy's a class act. And I mimicked Buchecha in a sense. I mimicked what's his name? Jesus, Hodger Grace. Excuse me.
Oh, there's another big, yeah, Hard to Grace. Mm-hmm.
I mimicked Hodger Grace. I mimicked these guys that are these tall, 230, 240-pound guys who absolutely destroy everybody. And I said, why can't I be that person? So I looked into what it was and what it took, and I applied it, and I kept applying it till I got to where I wanted to go. Because realistically, in jiu-jitsu, if you don't have grit, then you're not going to make it. Grit is
Mm-hmm.
the willingness to pursue your goal, no matter the obstacle or time frame. You never give up. That's all it is. It's having the heart of a champion.
Yeah, it's pretty much never giving up and then covering all the bases, to improve yourself, to better yourself, whether it be competition on the mats or whether it being as a person off the mats. Um, so how did you modify your diet when everything really clicked at purple belt, like, and you started looking up to all, to the greats? Like, how did
So you said you're asking what is the secret?
you?
You know what? I will share the basic fundamental secret of how you modify your diet. Okay.
Okay.
Step one, you need to get a proper assessment of your body fat percentage. Those handheld machines are usually horribly inaccurate, anywhere up to 3-4%, but they're close enough. So if you have to use a handheld machine, get your body fat, okay? And then step two, weigh yourself. So you're gonna weigh yourself. You're gonna know your body fat percentage. That means you're gonna know what your lean body mass is. If you're 200 pounds and you have a 10% body fat, then you know that 20 pounds of it is fat,
Mhm.
right? Fair. So you're 180 pounds of lean body mass. Then you're gonna look up a formula. It's called the Harris-Benedict formula for your
Mhm.
basal metabolic rate. Okay, your basal metabolic rate is the equivalent of if I got up this morning and turned my car on for 24 hours, how much gas do I need to put in my tank for it to last 24 hours? Sitting there, never going out of the parked position, never going into gear, never being driven anywhere. Your basal metabolic rate is how many calories your body needs to sustain its normal biological functions if you sat on your ass and did nothing all day. Okay? And then you
Mhm.
have this multiplying factor. The multiplying factor is based on your activity, how active of a person you are. If you're not active, you just have a desk job and you go home, it's like 1.2. The average guy who goes to the gym for an hour a day, maybe a 1.4, 1.5. Jiu-jitsu specialist who's training twice a day, maybe a 1.6, 1.7.
Mhm.
Okay, so you take your weight, you put it into the Harris-Benedict formula, and it gives your basal metabolic rate, your calories you need. You multiply that by your activity level, and then you know what your total daily energy expenditure is, roughly. Let's say it's 3,000 calories, right?
Mm-hmm.
From there, you subtract. If you want to lose weight, you subtract 20%. If you want to gain weight, you increase 20%. So 20% of 3,000 calories is 600 calories. You eat 2,400 calories a day, and then you balance that between the macros. Macros are protein, carbs, and fats. So maybe 200 grams of protein and 300 grams of carbs and 80 grams of fat off the top of my head would roughly equal 2,400 calories. And then you fill in your day to fill those macros. Now, whether you eat 3 times a day or 6 times a day, that's up to you. I like to eat more often. I eat about 5 times a day myself right
Mm-hmm.
now because I need to eat bigger meals. I don't have time. But 6 times a day is ideal, right? At least in my philosophy. There's many philosophies out there. The one that works for you is
I
right. Don't get caught up and think one's better than the other. Try them all and see which one works for you in a
I
healthy manner.
see. So once you get all those numbers down pat and you figure that out, because I'm pretty sure everyone would be different based on their body fat percentage, their basal metabolic rate.
Yeah, which is why this formula is great because it takes in who you are and where you're at in your physical level right now. Two people could be 200 pounds, but one could be 10% fat and the other one could be 25% fat.
Mm-hmm.
Fair, right?
Yes.
You could be 200 pounds and be 25% easily. And the same guy next to you who's a couple inches taller than you could be 200 pounds and 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So when you use the Harris-Benedict formula, it customizes, it gives you a best guess estimate of what your calories should be given your stats.
It's cool too because it also takes into account the activity level, right? Correct? Like if you're a desk guy or.
Yeah, you need
Mm-hmm.
to do that. Yeah, the worst thing in the world right now is that whole BMI
Mm-hmm.
thing. According to BMI, I am morbidly obese for my height right now at 250 pounds. And I promise you I'm nowhere close to that.
Yeah, I never liked that BMI thing because it doesn't take into account like your body fat percentage, like how much muscle you have, and like
No, it really doesn't. Actually, the military has gotten wise to this in the last 8 years. And now, if they see your BMI is high and you look healthy, they actually will test your body fat
I see. Mm-hmm.
because they used to do it based off the BMI. And if you're too fat, you're considered, a fat body and you couldn't go to the
Mm-hmm.
military. So it's good to see there's a change happening.
Yeah, that's good. It's more progressive. Do you think so what are your thoughts on like time restricted eating though?
Oh man, I get asked this all the time.
Okay.
I recently did a podcast, and I got asked this question every single time I did the podcast with the other guy. Um, Intermittent fasting is another form of calorie restricted dieting. In the end, it's about how many calories you burn versus how many calories you take in. That's going to equal the outcome. It's not that simple because I believe in something called macro
Mm-hmm.
timing. And macro timing, like I said, protein, carbs, and fats. You're supposed to have certain carbs and certain fats and certain types of protein at certain times of the day. I believe in that. It's a philosophy that I follow, and it's proven by science because we have a digestive
Mm-hmm.
rate. In intermittent fasting, they throw that out the window. And actually, or they go to an extreme. You can say it both ways because they're macro timing in an extreme manner. They're giving you this window to eat it. So you get told, okay, intermittent fasting, you're allowed to eat from 12 to 6, whatever, right? And you have to eat 2,500 calories from 12 to 6. Honestly, for me, that isn't hard, but for most people, it's pretty hard to eat 2,500 clean calories. I'm not talking about going to McDonald's. I'm not talking about eating donuts. I'm talking about chicken, rice, potatoes, avocado, peanuts, peanut butter, all the stuff that's good for you, fish, beef. It's hard to eat that. To give you a perspective of how hard it is, a pound of ribeye, which is a fatty form of beef that I usually don't put on my diets for my clients because I don't like the level of fat. If you eat a 16-ounce ribeye without the bone, you've only consumed 1,200
Oh,
calories. Can you eat two 16-ounce ribeyes in
like,
6 hours? I can. I'm a 250-pound guy. I'll engulf it. I don't care.
mm,
Most people can't do that. In retrospect, you have to think about intermittent fasting on the other end. If a 5'4", 300-pound guy comes up to you and says, "Oh, here's my diet, and I eat once a day." Aren't you going to turn to him and be like, "Hey, dude, that's horrible. Look at you. You look like crap." What's the difference between him and the guy who's losing weight on intermittent fasting? The guy who's losing weight on intermittent fasting is losing, counting their calories and paying attention to what they're eating, and they're scheduling everything. They weigh and measure their food. You have to weigh and measure your food.
Mm-hmm.
It's empirical data. The other guy's sitting down eating 8,000 calories in one session. Why? Because that's
Mm-hmm.
what he's used to. He binge eats, makes him feel good. Most people who are morbidly obese have an addiction to food, some sort of addiction. For me, it was binge eating. I loved to eat until I felt so full that I couldn't eat another bite, or I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So it's like any other drug. There's an addiction involved, and a vicious cycle of eating to feel better, and then looking at yourself and feeling worse about yourself because you just ate to feel better and you're overweight. So you eat again to feel better.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost like that. It's almost like they're binge eating because they have some sort of addiction to whatever food that they're eating. Kind of like with sugar, right? Like they really.
No, it's not exactly with sugar. They're addicted to sugar, sure, but sugar itself is not causing the addiction. It's overconsumption. But I haven't completely answered your question. With intermittent fasting, there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong. I have a client that I've been working with for 8 months, and he has lost 70 pounds with intermittent fasting. On the rare occasion that I take on intermittent fasting clients, I do so because their lifestyle does not allow them a diet that's 5, 6 meals a day because they can't eat at work. Think about the waiter who works a 8, 9 hour shift, and he gets a 30-minute lunch. It's really hard to get those meals in. So I go, okay, let's completely cut that out. Get up in the morning, go work your 8 hour, 9 hour shift, and between when you get home and when you sleep, I want you to eat 2,500 calories. And it works out for a lot of people because they like to eat bigger meals and they like to feel full, and just they go through a couple day process of feeling hungry in the morning into the afternoon until the body adjusts. But the outlandish claims that intermittent fasting makes, like it increases GH production, or because you're only eating a 6 hour window and you're not eating the rest of the time, your cells rest. Garbage. There's nothing significant in the sense of bettering your health in terms of what they're saying that's viable. It's outlandish. And they're just saying that because they want their philosophy to be popular. And that's okay. I get it. They're selling it to the market. If everybody intermittent fasted and ate, 2,000 calories a day, the obesity epidemic would be gone in America. Diabetes would be gone, with the exception of type 1, which is an
Mhm.
autoimmune disorder. Type 2 diabetes would be gone if everybody did that. It would be a thing of the past. The real culprit, like you said, sugar earlier, and addiction. Sugar isn't the real culprit. Sugar doesn't cause the problems that we have today in America in terms of our health. Overconsumption is the number one leading factor to most of our chronic illnesses that we see in our population: heart disease, stroke, diabetes. Overconsumption can get rid of 90%, 95% of this if we just got rid of it.
So overconsumption is pretty much regardless of whether it's sugar, regardless of whether it's fat or protein. I guess people just don't understand the numbers.
Having a balanced diet is a good thing, and eating good foods that are good for you, that are vitamin rich, is a good thing. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, you should just drink 2,400 calories of Coca Cola a day. That's not the point. You have to have a balanced diet. But having that balanced diet, if you don't overconsume, because when people overconsume, they don't overconsume one thing. They binge. They go to McDonald's and order a supersized meal that's 2,000 calories, and they eat that. And then for dinner, they eat another 2,000. That's 4,000 calories right there. We're not even counting breakfast. If you didn't overconsume, if you consumed at your total daily energy expenditure or less, then your health would be a lot better. Your lipids wouldn't go crazy. It's overconsumption that causes most of these problems.
So it goes back to that calculation that you gave us earlier. So once people have that piece of information about them, then it's a matter of staying within that number of calories per day, but making sure that those calories are coming from clean sources. Is that right?
Yeah, coming from a balanced diet, man. Like a
Hmm.
lot of people don't understand what a balanced diet is.
So for those listening, like what like let's say they're starting their diet like straight from scratch. Like they're like, okay, I'm gonna get on this thing. Like what is really like a balanced diet, or is it different from person to person?
It matters what kind of philosophy you want to approach. If you're a Atkins keto guy, then the balance is all in the protein and the fats. If you're just an average Joe, then it's protein, carbs, and fats. It's everything together. And you need to eat your meat, and you need to eat your rice, and you need to get the fat in. Like this whole epidemic with saturated fats being bad for you. Saturated fats are not bad for you, in moderation, in the correct moderation. There's many different fats that your body needs in order to have the correct biological processes work. Perfect example, saturated fats. If you don't take it in, your test levels drop.
Mm.
Why? Because your body needs saturated fats in order to create natural testosterone. If it doesn't have the building blocks, it's not going to create the house. It's simple as that.
Hmm. So you mentioned that like overconsumption is very dangerous. Like it probably causes like a ton of illnesses. What if someone kind of just takes it super left and says, okay, well, now I'm gonna if this is my number of calories, I'm gonna eat this amount, and it's too low.
Okay, so this goes back to the whole metabolic issue. There's a principle that everybody needs to understand right away, and that is that your metabolism is adaptive. I know personally speaking, if I sit on my ass and do nothing, like literally I'm a couch potato from, for example, my ribs being broken, and I have to sit
Hmm.
on my ass for 6 weeks, 2,500 calories will not make me gain or lose weight. So I eat 2,500 calories a day. Um,
Hmm.
in terms of going too low, if you take your body to a certain environment, no matter what that environment is, it's going to try to adapt as well as it can. If you're going to tell your body that, you need 3,000 calories a day, but you're only going to give it 1,000, your body is going to react accordingly. It's going to say, okay, I need 3,000 calories to survive the way I'm running right now. I'm getting 1,000 calories a day. Something is wrong. There's a fast coming. I need to start storing energy and
Hmm.
slowing everything down so that I can survive this fast, because that's what your body does. Its main priorities are survival and replication. And in order to replicate, you have to survive first.
Hmm.
So that becomes a top priority. So if you give your body 1,000 calorie environment, your metabolism that was running at 3,000 calories is now running at 1,000 calories. And people wonder why they yo-yo with their weight. Like, the person who's 200 pounds wants to get down to like 160, whatever, right? And they go to this extreme. They start running an hour a day and lifting and eating 1,000 calories a day, and they lose 20 pounds to get to 180, and then it comes to a screeching halt because they've lost the 20 pounds in 20 days. Most of it's water and muscle. And now your metabolism is going, F you, you're putting me in a situation where I feel like I need to survive. I need to protect myself. I'm going to slow everything down. So now you're eating as much as you're burning. Your body's burning 1,000 calories. You're eating 1,000 calories. You're not going to lose weight. Do you have any room to go any lower? No. So think of your metabolism and losing weight like an onion. If you only had one onion, right, and you wanted to make the most of it, would you cut right down the center of it? No, you wouldn't. It would
No.
it would spoil overnight. Instead, you would slowly peel off very carefully layers so you could eat your onion little by little so it doesn't spoil, right? That's your
Hmm.
metabolism. That's the best metaphor I've ever had for a metabolism that I could ever think of. You cut right down the center of your metabolism, you have nothing left. You slowly
Hmm.
take the layers off. Your metabolism feels comfortable. It doesn't go into survival mode, and it allows you to lose body fat because it's fed. Most people who get on my diet can't eat all the food on my diet. It's funny, I was working with Frank Mir on the last camp that he did against the Fedor fight, and I set up his nutrition. Portion Control here in Las Vegas does healthy meals. It's owned by a guy named Justin Bloom. He owns Raw Fitness. Really great guy, a friend of mine. And I talked to Frank, and he's like, "Let's do the nutrition." I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna get you sponsored." I called up Portion Control, and I said, "Hey, you want to sponsor Frank Mir?" And I gave him the macros and the calories. He set up the diet and gave it to Frank. Guess what? Frank could not finish all the meals. I'm on a cutting diet. He couldn't finish. He's like, dude, I couldn't. He goes, I had no
Oh, wow.
idea I needed to eat this much. The first week, 2 weeks, he's like, dude, I can't finish all my meals. I'm like, just keep eating as much as you can. Don't push yourself too hard. Your metabolism will speed up, and next thing you know, you'll be hungry in between meals, whereas you were too full. That's exactly what happened. That's what happens with most of my clients. They complain, this is way too much food. I'm never going to lose weight. I'm like, hey, just give it a couple weeks. Trust me. Give my process a chance. A couple weeks later, not only are they losing 1 to 2 pounds a week regularly every single week, they're complaining about being hungry between meals. Why? Your metabolism speed up. Your metabolism's like, hey, I'm getting fed. I feel good. I don't need to worry about storing energy. I can burn through all this. I can speed things up. And that has humongous health benefits because, more importantly than anything else, your body will use fat as energy instead of carbs because it has an excess amount of reserve energy. It sees that it's getting fed. That's the principle everybody needs to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Don't jump into extremes. Extremes are bad for you, especially with weight loss or weight gain.
Yeah, people really need to know that because, man, like that's crazy. You can eat more food, but like lose weight. Because I see the reason why I asked that question, I see too many of people in my circle that go through like really deep extremes. Like they say that I'm gonna eat one apple every meal with this piece of tuna. And then when I see them, they're like, dude, you look horrible. And like you don't look right, you know?
Yeah, and it's not their fault. Think about when you were a kid in middle school and they taught you that stupid food pyramid. Did you really understand that food pyramid? You know how horrible that thing is for you? Like, no one applied it. Everybody ate junk. You really have to consider, you can't get mad at these people who don't know what they're doing and they're trying their best to lose weight because they were never educated properly. If I could change one thing in our education system right now, I'd get rid of that food pyramid system and I would teach kids proper nutrition so they have an understanding of what they have to do. A lot of people are like, yeah, I'm dieting. And I'm like, cool, man. Like, well, tell me about it. What are you eating? What are your calories? What are your macros? Oh, I'm not counting that. What? You're not counting that? Do you do math without numbers? Do your doctor prescribes you something for your health? Do you just pop the lid open without reading the directions and just pop a couple pills and not care? You're an idiot if you do that. You're just as equally an idiot if you're trying to diet without counting your calories, without weighing and measuring your food. I mean, this isn't the Stone Age. We use empirical data for science. That same empirical data is applied to your nutrition. You know how many calories you need to eat. You count your calories, you weigh your food, you eat the appropriate calories. It's not hard. It really isn't. Yet people fail to do it.
Yeah, where did they you you mentioned what do you call it? That food pyramid. Like where did they get that from anyway? Like why did we start with that in the first place?
Some dumbass government scientist probably who was politically charged. I don't know. I don't care. All I know is it's garbage. And it's caused the epidemic of low testosterone in males that are in their 40s and 50s right now. Because they shouldn't be that low.
You think it's because of that? You think it's because of that there people are like taking TRT now at their 40s and 50s pretty much?
Yeah, because your saturated fats create natural testosterone. You're not eating enough saturated fats, or you're over consuming because you were never taught correctly. One or the other is going to cause low testosterone. Any extreme is going to be bad for your body. Your body has a homeostasis. You need to give it that homeostasis.
Oh, yeah, there's like so many diets now that people are following. Have you heard of this carnivore diet?
Yes and no, and I haven't really looked into it deep enough to comment on it to say that I know the philosophy.
Oh, I see.
I've
Okay.
heard of a lot of different diets: South Beach diet, this diet, that diet. I follow basic straight macro splits, carb cycling, keto, uh, cycling keto, and that's about it. Those are the only diets that I've ever used, with the exception of intermittent fasting for my clients. Those are the kind of diets that I'm like, okay, you know what? These ones have the science to back them up and make sense. I'm sure there's benefits to the South Beach diet, and I'm sure there's some benefits somewhere for the carnivore diet, and the paleo diet has benefits. Absolutely, I've read into that. I don't mind the paleo diet. But I personally, I eat the shit out of carbs. I am a high endurance athlete. If I don't eat 300-400 grams of carbs a day, I have issues. I cramp.
Yeah, because you pretty much need that energy pretty much to compete.
Yeah, you do. And does that mean you can't do it with keto and the fats? Yeah, you can. I personally don't like it. I don't think a high endurance athlete should be, cutting carbs out. Why? What harm is it doing? You're burning it up immediately. It's only when you eat a lot of carbs and sit on your ass and do nothing now you're like, okay, you know what? That doesn't make sense. I don't need the energy to be released like that. It's all about insulin spikes and release. You get an insulin spike whether you eat protein or whether you eat carbs or fats. It's just a degree of the curve. Fats will have the lowest curve. Simple carbs will have the highest curve.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my guests. I think it was, who was it again? I think it was Hector from Leglocker, and we were talking about if most people just watched their diet and knew how to eat correctly, it would avoid a ton of illnesses, and people wouldn't have to like turn to going to the doctor and taking all these prescription meds and junk like that.
If I told you how many people have taken off their type 2 diabetes medication and reversed type 2 diabetes in the near 10 years I've been doing this, you'd be astonished. People who had their A1C at 5.6 and up are now at like 5, 4.5. I recently took on this guy who does judo out in LA. He's a sheriff and pretty healthy guy. And, really cool guy. And he hits me up. He goes, "Hey, man, I heard you do nutrition and I heard your podcast about, reversing type 2 diabetes." And he goes, "Dude, like, I'm pre diabetic, right?" I'm like, how the hell is that possible? He's like, "I let myself go gain some weight and I have it genetically predisposed in my family." He sent me his labs. I looked at him like, this guy's right. His fasting glucose is high, borderline, and he's pretty much diabetic. He's on diabetes medication. And he's a judo, like, high caliber judo and jiu-jitsu black belt. And I'm like, okay, let's fix this. I set this guy up on his diet, and he's taking his glucose every day, a couple times a day, so he can send it to his doctor. And his doctor's freaking amazed. After 2 months, he's not on diabetes medication anymore. He's lost the weight. He looks good. He feels good. His doctor's happy, and we didn't change his medication. His doctor didn't do anything. It was his nutrition and his activity level that changed that. His insulin resistance dropped. Why? Because he was eating clean and eating smart and giving his body a healthy environment. And I've done that with multiple clients. And it's amazing. It's just nutrition and it'll heal you. I'm not saying nutrition is going to be the cure to cancer or the cure to some horrible viral disease. We have to understand our limitations. But if you're getting a disease because you're over consuming and we fix the overconsumption, then odds are that disease is going to retrace back to a healthy point. So be considerate of your nutrition and what you're doing. You pay a price for getting lazy and eating whatever the hell you want. In retrospect, don't become Nazi about your diet. Initially when you're learning how to eat and counting calories, be careful and do what you need to do to learn your own body. But hey, I eat ice cream here and there. I eat pizza here and there. I put sugar in my tea here and there. It's about a balance, all in all. You know, I don't want to look like the cover page of a muscle fitness magazine. I don't care. I don't need to have a 6% body fat, 8-pack abs. I don't care. Coming from a guy who was morbidly obese and on the, path to a 600-pound life episode, I don't care about that stuff when I was so unhealthy and I'm so healthy now. And, I've accomplished a lot through that process about myself, my own self confidence, about the person I am and how I can be better as a person. So there's no negative connotation to living a healthier lifestyle and educating yourself in the process.
Yeah, I wish more people would be like educated. It's funny because a lot of people, they know the way, they know they have to have a balanced diet, but sometimes it's also a discipline factor. Like you got to be disciplined on saying no to all those things. You got to be disciplined in putting in the exercise, making, because it's a lot of work. But I mean, I would rather do all that than get diabetes and go blind at the age of like 50. You know what I mean?
It's ugly. I used to be a medic, and we saw it a lot in diabetics that we used to transfer inter facility to dialysis and things like that. They didn't last, man. It's ugly. Made me realize I needed to make a change back then too, Excuse me.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Like I have an uncle that had diabetes and he had to get like his legs amputated and stuff like that. It gets pretty nasty once it goes down that route. So yeah, this all of this is extremely helpful. So mm. Coach Arin, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, bud.
Okay. It's I try to hear some. I keep hearing feedback on your end. I'm not sure if
How's this?
Okay, that well, I hear myself. Okay, that's perfect. Awesome. Thank you. So, how long have you been doing this nutrition program? Like, is it a business or?
Yeah, I own a company called 3J's Nutrition Network. It's at three, I'm sorry, at the number three, the letter J, DIET on Instagram. You can look it up. I opened it up back in the early 2010s after having made changes myself to my body, and I saw that people wanted to inquire on their own nutrition. At first, I took on free clients and helped them out and learned what I needed to do statistically for each client, and then started charging for it. And it grew, and I opened up one of the first 100% online nutrition and training coaching companies on the internet that I knew of, at least. And it grew from there. And I mainly work with bodybuilders and athletes and models. And it grew into pro bodybuilders. I've helped a couple pro bodybuilders reach high levels, and then it became the average Joe, just a volume of average people, and then high caliber MMA fighters, and pretty much across the board. I don't have an issue working with just about anybody so long as they're motivated.
So, what was your previous job prior to starting your nutrition company?
I was a medic.
Hello. Okay.
Yeah, I
Oh,
said I was a
okay.
medic.
So, like, did you start right? Did you quit your job right away to start the business full time, or was it like a part time gig type deal?
It took me 3 weeks to quit my job. In
Oh,
3 weeks, I made
okay.
more money than I would working 2 months as a medic. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
I'm done with this. I don't care. I don't want to be a medic anymore. After 10 years of it, I was tired of it.
Oh, nice. So you pretty much jumped right into it, pretty much. You had like a stable base of clientele right off the bat.
No, I took a risk. And that's what it really is. You have to take a risk. I've opened 3 other businesses since then. And each time I take a risk, it becomes easier because you have money flowing back and forth between your businesses that you can use to invest. But the first business I opened, I was like, hey, you know what? It's make or break. I'm just going to take the risk and quit and do this and try to drive it as hard as I can to make money. And it became very popular.
I see. Were you worried at all that it wouldn't work? Like, were you worried about trying to find people to help with the business or?
To be honest, I'm sure I was worried the first month or two, but it just launched. It just took off. It became so much bigger than I ever imagined.
So, was your first clients like people at the gym, or was it pretty much people you found online,
It was
or?
all 100% online.
Oh, wow.
About the first 5 years, 90% of my clients didn't even know how I looked. They didn't care. All they cared about was the before and after pictures that I had and getting to that after picture.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I see a lot of those before and after pictures that you're showing on Instagram. It's always on your stories and stuff. Like, it goes to show I mean, your program's legit, man. So,
It works, but you got to remember a plan is only good as a person
mhm.
following it.
So, if you're working with a client, like, and it's through online, are they like just in Nevada, or are they all over the country pretty much, or everywhere?
I have all over. Yeah, you got to think bigger. All over
Oh,
the
wow.
world. I've had clients from every continent on the planet, with the exception of the North and South Pole. Sri Lanka, Australia, Africa, all parts of Europe, all parts of Asia, all parts of South and Central America, United States, Canada. I don't think I've had a client from Alaska. I could. I mean, I'd have to look,
Mhm.
but everywhere.
Nice,
That's
nice.
the thing about the online nutrition approach. Realistically, if you know how to lift weights, or if you have a personal trainer at the gym that can help you learn proper form, You don't need your nutritionist to be face to face with you.
Mm-hmm.
You take your, all my clients have to check in with me at least once a week with pictures, specific measurements taken with a Taylor's tape measure, and their weight. That way I can track their progress and make changes as I see fit. Because micro calibration plays a major part in weight loss. Because you stick to 2,500 calories for 2 months. At some point, you've lost so much weight that 2,500 calories is too high for you to lose weight anymore. You have to drop it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to increase your activity level and add cardio. Yes, I did say add cardio after 2 months. Those of you who are trying to lose weight and you jump straight into cardio, guess what? You made a mistake. You're cutting deeper into that onion than you need to. First, you got to milk the cow as much as you can before it moves on. And the way you milk it is first you let just the diet and the weightlifting help you lose weight, and then you start adding layers of different activity and losing the calories a bit. And it is a simple but complicated process. That's why people pay me. They pay me to simplify that process for them, to look at what their needs are, look at the data that they send me empirically every week with their weight and measurements, and go, this is the change I want you to make to continue to make progress. Because anybody can do the research and put a decent diet together,
Mm-hmm.
online. Anybody can do that. It's when things start to not go right that my experience is paid for.
Ah, I see. So, like, if someone like had a root beer or something, they'd have to report that to you, pretty much.
Well, yeah, you know what? I mean, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they feel guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you need to tell me if you cheated because I didn't let you cheat. Does that mean I don't give cheat meals to my clients? I do. But after a couple weeks of making sure they're dialed in correctly, they're losing the right amount of weight, they're dedicated, I go, okay, so replace a meal with, you have this many calories, replace a regular meal with cheat meal, eat whatever the hell you want. I don't care what it is. You don't have to clear it with me. So yeah, there's this like balancing act that happens, and clients do see the results, but the ones that do well with my programs are the ones that are like robots. I can just type in what I want and they're gonna do it. Here are the instructions, follow it, don't ask any questions, just do what I say. And those are the ones that really honestly do
Mm-hmm.
well because they're dedicated.
Yeah. Did you ever have a client that's just really hard to just like keep on the path, pretty much?
Yeah. And if I see the client's not motivated and not working, I'll let him go.
Oh, wow.
I'm not here to babysit you. You came to me to make a change. I can't from 1,000 miles away sugarcoat for you so you're motivated. We're emailing back and forth at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening. I can't put emojis and expressions to make you feel better. Get your ass up, do what you have to do to make the change. Nobody held my hand when I lost 100 pounds. No one's going to hold yours. That's the truth. And I don't sugarcoat shit for my clients. I tell them, I go, hey, here's the deal. You need to do this and this and this. Steps 1 through 3 over this time period, or you'll get to your goal. Either you're going to do it or you're not. It goes the same for jiu-jitsu, right? Either you're going to show up, train, learn, bust your ass, or you're not. Then it goes back to grit. You want to lose 100 pounds? Put in the work. You want to become a world champ? You want to become Pan Am champ? Put in the work. Don't come crying when you didn't put in the work and you didn't even make it to the podium. Same thing with your nutrition. Don't come crying to me if you're not going to put in the work. If you're going to send me 50 emails saying, oh, can I change this? And I want chocolate and I want a Twinkie and this and that. And be like, hey, dude, like, what are you paying me for?
Yeah, it always goes down to grit. You got to put in the work. You can't make excuses. You never showed up in the first place. Like, you got to be held accountable for what you're doing, you know?
And a lot of people come to me to feel like they're being held accountable, knowing that they have to check in with me once a week and they have to show progress. And they get motivated by that. And that's great. I'm okay with that in terms of being a motivational coach. But I'm not a phone call away or a text away every single time you want to eat a candy bar and need someone to
Hmm.
pet you. So you don't do it. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and it's those type of people that won't ever like make it to their goal because they can't even stick to the program to begin with. They're always trying to find a way out, but they want something, but they don't they don't pay the price to get what they want.
And that's okay, and you're gonna fail and you're gonna slip, you're gonna fall. And so long as you don't stay down every single time you get up and try again, you haven't really failed. So think about that when you're going through this process, because that's like that all or none extreme mentality. Oh, if I cheat once, then it's all ruined, right? Well, if I gain a pound next week instead of losing the 2 pounds I should be, then it's all ruined. I give up. Horrible mentality. There's going to be bumps on the road. I have 52 medals upstairs. Only 32 of them are gold.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them are paperweights. They're mistakes. They're lessons that I've learned. And they're more important than the gold medals, believe it or not, because every single time I lost, it drove me to better myself so I would win. You don't learn anything when you win gold. You just accomplish something.
And that's the type of stuff people need to understand. Like, if there's going to be setbacks, it's not always going to be like perfect, like to the T, you know? So, I mean, um, the road to success is really bumpy. A lot of people need to understand that. So, Coach Arin, we got to wrap this up soon. Um, how can how can the listeners better support you? How can if anyone wanted to get on your program, if anybody wanted to support you, or you know, sign up, what do they need to do?
DM me on Instagram or email me at the number 3jdiet@gmail.com. That's 3 as in the number 3, jdiet@gmail.com. And talk to me. Tell me what's going on with you, what your wants and needs are out of working together, and we'll set up a program for you. You know, I work with everybody with the exception of vegans. I can't do
Okay.
vegans.
Oh, why not vegans?
I don't agree with the philosophy. I don't agree with the mentality. I don't agree with the reasoning behind it, with the exception of animal cruelty. I think animal cruelty is a horrible thing, but overconsumption and capitalism causes animal cruelty. Not eating meat. If you had to go out and kill the meat that you were going to eat, I promise there wouldn't be this issue of animal cruelty and the way animals are getting treated.
Hmm.
You have fangs. They're meant to bite on flesh. Don't deny your fangs. And these people who are vegan, they have nutritional issues. You know, they lack the proper nutrition that their body needs because they don't eat meat and they only eat plant-based items. They feel better because they're eating plant-based items and their calories are restricted and they're losing weight. But realistically, in the long term, you're malnourished.
So you don't think that people can get their proper amino acids through like plant-based like sources?
Yeah, they can. Most people don't, though. There are
Hmm.
plant-based proteins out there that will have complete amino acids. There are plant-based vegetables that are complete. They're rare, but they're there. And most people will not take the time to set up a proper vegan diet to have the complete amino acids. They will fail at that. They will pay in the long run with their health. Maybe not as bad as the guy who's going to McDonald's every day, but they're still sacrificing their health for their philosophy.
Yeah, because like I think you're gonna have to eat like a ton of like beans and whatnot just to get the proper.
And there's a lot of carbs. It's, like the red kidney beans, the ratio is like 1 to 9 or 1 to 10 protein to
Yikes.
carbs. How are you going to get 200 grams of protein there? You're going to have to use a supplement, some type of shake, a vegan shake. There's companies out there that do a great job. Muscle Farm makes a great vegan protein powder that's really good. I've tried it myself, and usually I'm against shakes for most of your protein with my clients. In terms of vegan clients, I'm like, please, at least 3 shakes a day at 50 grams for most of my clients who are athletes because they don't get the
Mhm.
nutrition they need in terms of amino acids. So you have to source from a supplement.
Yeah, they'll have no choice. Because like if they keep eating all that stuff, they're gonna like intake a ton of carbs just to try to get the protein in.
Yeah. Then causes an imbalance in your
Mm.
diet.
Yeah. Yeah, just that whole vegan thing. The only thing I don't like about it is like I know that's the whole animal cruelty thing, but I don't like how they have like this tribal mentality where they, like start attacking people and
But that's just an extremist, man. I have a bunch of friends who are vegan. They're not extremists like that. They're animal rights activists. I'm an animal rights activist. I see you kick a dog, I'm gonna come kick you. I see you treat an animal cruelly, I'm gonna come treat you cruelly, hands down, every single time. I'm an
Mhm.
activist. I have 2 dogs myself that they're 10 pounds together. They're 5 pound Yorkies. I'm a sucker for dogs and animals, but will I go out and kill an elk and use every part of that elk to feed myself and my family and anybody else? Hands down, yes, because that's the circle of life. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
What's wrong is that capitalism has made it easy for you to go to Costco and buy 10 pounds of beef and overconsume. And all these cows are being farmed and slaughtered because we have this capitalistic overconsumption ideology.
Mm-hmm.
So that's horrible. I think it's horrible. Do I still go out and buy beef? Yeah, I do, because that's the life that we've been given. That's the only way we can source meat. I can't go get there's a lottery here in Nevada to kill an elk a year. Only about 2,000 people get it. You know how many people want it? A lot. So there's no other way to source it. And that's our issue.
Yeah, I think that's like the main issue. That's why they're a ton of people are like really angry, and there's this whole movement thing. But uh, yeah, what can you do? That's how it is. Anywho, so Coach Arin, when are you competing again? When's Masters Worlds?
The 22nd. It's weird, man. They have us competing on a Wednesday or Thursday this year as masters
Oh,
and black belts. So we'll see what
oh,
happens.
really? It's not on the weekend?
No.
Okay. Okay, that's odd. All right. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So again, thank you so much for doing this podcast. I really appreciate it. Like I've been checking I've been I've been seeing and looking at your stuff ever since you were on the Grappling Central podcast with our friend Ryan. And again, I think what you're doing is really great, helping people with nutrition. And best of luck at Masters Worlds, man. Go kill it.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for having me. I love being on podcasts and talking nutrition and sharing the wealth and the knowledge and giving people a chance to take control of their lives and make it better.
Awesome, awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, Arin Adjamian, follow him on Instagram, DA_JITS, JITS on Instagram to support him. And if you have any questions about nutrition, hit him up on the DM. And that is our show. Whenever you possibly can, do good to those who need it. Visit incgiving.org. Peace.